Tonight, Jamie Dornan, star of The Fall and 50 Shades of Grey, on going home to Northern Ireland to film a series about an illicit love affair across the religious divide. First, Death and Nightingales, a new period drama adapted for television from a modern Irish classic written by Eugene McCabe. The book, which is regularly read in schools across Northern Ireland, is set in County Fermanagh in the 1880s when all of Ireland was under British rule and the Republicans had launched a bombing campaign in England. The three-part adaptation, which starts this week, is written and directed by Alan Cubitt, who also made The Fall, a series in which Jamie Dornan played a Belfast serial killer pursued by Gillian Anderson's determined detective. Death and Nightingales also features a strong-minded female lead. Beth is a 23-year-old woman who defies her Protestant landowning stepfather to have an affair with one of his Catholic tenant farmers, played by Jamie Dornan. It unfolds over a tense 24-hour period as Beth tries to decide whether to escape her life once and for all.
All we have to do is fix the day.
You're serious?
Are you not?
He's no one's fool.
He's foolish enough, it seems, when he's drunk. When will he next have drink taken?
After my mother died, he drank night and day. Now it's just when there's an outing, a fair day, any celebration.
When's the next?
July 10th. My birthday.
Then it's decided.
Anne Skelly in Death and Nightingales and Jamie Dornan playing her lover. The actor grew up in Northern Ireland, so the history is familiar to him. But how far does he think this period drama will resonate with audiences today?
You can't set something in that part of the world and avoid the vast and varied and complicated political history. But it's always relevant because, you know, as much as this is a drama about love and betrayal within a family, in the back of it there is obviously this quite prominent political story and dealing
the weight
with,
of Irish history is very much in there.
Totally, you know, and that's always going to be relevant to people from the island and beyond. I mean, you know, obviously my character Liam Ward has many an issue with the British rule that was happening in Ireland at that time, and I think not that you want it to be any kind of history lesson, but I certainly learnt a bit more about the history of the country from reading the book and reading the script.
I think what's been kind of striking about the Brexit negotiations is that I think a lot of people in the wake of the Good Friday Agreement had almost sort of forgotten, if you like, the divisions in Ireland, and this is a little bit of a reminder of just how far they go back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, forgotten is a key word there, I think. You know, there's people who honestly don't even realise that Northern Ireland has any connection to the UK at all. You know, genuinely people shocked. They're like, whoa, what? All right, okay. And now it's obviously become a major factor in these
So when you're in, say, in the
negotiations.
United States, people will often not know that Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
Wouldn't have a clue. No, wouldn't have a clue.
Now, Death and Nightingales is a love story across the religious and class divide. You play Liam Ward, who is a Catholic tenant farmer who has an affair with the Protestant landlord's daughter. What is it that drives Liam? And without giving too much of the plot away.
Yeah, it is actually quite tough to do that without giving too much of the plot away. But, you know, he is drives a good word because he is very ambitious in terms of what he thinks is just and what he thinks is fair and how he thinks he can change things for the better of him and his people.
And that's the tension, isn't it? Because the viewer isn't sure whether Liam is good or bad. I mean, he seems very charming, but we know from the first episode that the local bishop thinks he's a bit evil.
Sure.
So he's very ambiguous.
He is ambiguous, and as an actor, that's very fun to play. Obviously, you know, if something isn't just purely black and white. I don't know why, but I do seem to like to play fairly ambiguous characters often, and where you're sort of not totally aware of where they're taking you, you know.
Because you've played quite a lot, haven't you? I mean, the serial killer, you played Paul Spector in The Fall, quite ambiguous. Christian Grey in 50 Shades, quite mysterious as well. I mean, how do you play ambiguity?
You don't. If you're playing kind, respectful, polite, charming, you play those. I don't think it's right to try to be showing a sense of something else. That should be done within the narration itself, and those moments I think will feel all the more realistic if when the heinous moments and the darker moments, if they are played in their truest form, then that should be enough. You know, I think underplaying something is a tricky way to go.
Alan Cubitt, who wrote and directed this, also cast you in The Fall. How important has Alan been in your career? Because The Fall was quite a big breakthrough, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, he's nothing but monumental, to be honest, for me. You know, it was a massive punt, and, you know, he had to work very hard for it. He was almost alone in his belief that I was the right person to play Paul Spector, and I know that it was not where everyone's head was at the start. I know how hard he had to work.
Just to give the listeners some background, you were a very successful model for many years. I think you were dubbed by GQ as the male Kate Moss. And so did that make it hard to get casting directors to take you seriously as an actor, do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think there's an element of that maybe here in the UK, but I think in the States they're a wee bit more open-minded about that. There's also a bit of a stigma attached here, I think, to people who didn't go to drama school, because...
Did you go to drama school?
No. I think that would have been something that would have affected casting directors' decisions more, and maybe the point that wasn't very good. But, you know, that thing of, like, certainly when I started out was still holding a lot of weight, that if you were trained or not, which I don't think is massively relevant for television and film.
Now, 50 Shades of Grey, the films were huge on the global stage. What kind of impact has that had on the roles that you're now offered?
There's no fear with a thing like 50 Shades of being typecast, because no one's making any more movies about BDSM loving millionaires. Simple as that. Like, it's such a specific and unique genre that I'm not being offered anything near that, because nothing near that exists. If you'd done the big action movie where you're running around with an axe with your shirt off for 3 movies, then that's probably going to lend itself more to typecasting. But it was such a its own thing, you know, that it's been easy to avoid that.
Talking about taking your shirt off, there is something of a trend these days towards the objectification of male actors. I'm thinking about Poldark and The Bodyguard and so on. I mean, are you being asked to take your kit off a lot more?
Are you asking me to take my kit off now? Is
No.
We have witnesses here that you're doing this. This is a pretty shocking conversation, I'll be honest, Kirsty. Pretty taken aback. Sometimes, is it necessary for drama? Potentially, if you know, unless you're having sex in a polo neck.
Suddenly imagining that, and it's making me
by the way,
giggle.
there's a whole
Yeah.
world of sexual polo neck fetish people out there going,
Sure
oh
there
wow,
is,
he's really speaking to us. Finally, we're being heard. You know, if it's necessary, it's necessary. I'm all for that. But if it's like, listen, you're going to be doing the garden in here, we feel it's better to have your shirt off, I'd be probably saying no to that. And to be honest, like, for the rest of time, actors will be saying that sex scenes aren't sexy to shoot, and we will never be believed. But they're not, and there's far too many people in a room. Again, unless you're into that sort of thing, that's very strange, you know, to be simulating sex surrounded by men and women with jobs to do.
Well, there's a bit of that in Death and Nightingale, isn't there?
There's a wee bit of that.
I should say that the Death and Nightingales is set in the most stunning landscape. Waterways, lakes, little islands and so on. I mean, what was it like going back to filming in Northern Ireland compared to, I don't know, working on purpose-built Hollywood sets?
It was incredible because we did it this summer. Incredible weather, just honestly incredible weather for 2 months. And it was incredible. Listen, I grew up there, and there's parts of the country I'd never seen before, and it's given me an even deeper appreciation of the land that I'm from and how beautiful it is. And yeah, if I could do every job in a very sunny north of Ireland, that would be be great for me.
Jamie Dornan and Death and Nightingales begins this Wednesday at 9 o'clock on BBC Two.